Welcome back. Now, today in this technical we are talking about vaccinations for enzootic abortion in sheep. This isn't a technical all about enzootic abortion. You might know it as enzootic abortion of ewes, you might know it as chlamydial abortion. To give you a quick primer, it is a bacterial infection of sheep caused by a bug called Chlamydophila abortus. It is a really important cause of abortion in the UK. In fact, it is the most commonly diagnosed cause of sheep abortion in the UK. It's responsible for a large chunk of antibiotic use in sheep farming in the UK. It's also dangerous to human health if pregnant women are infected. And finally, it doesn't do the sheep any good. It causes severe outbreaks of abortion. That is obviously distressing for the sheep, distressing for the farmer, and has a big effect on the bottom line once the dust has settled. The good news is there are effective vaccines, and this isn't the only means of protecting against enzootic abortion. Biosecurity, and by that I mean which sheep you bring on and off the farm, makes a big difference as well. Saying that, it can be spread by wildlife much more rarely than by oncoming sheep, but it can happen, and unless the flock is completely closed and isolated, vaccination may well be a sensible strategy. It's a good, cheap insurance policy. As I said, when enzootic abortion enters a flock that is totally exposed and naive, you can have 10, 20, 30% of sheep aborting in a given lambing. Now, before I get into the details, as with any information in these technicals, and especially information to do with medicines, remember this is specific to the UK, so if you're abroad, the likelihood is there will be products available, but the advice may be slightly different, so by all means go and talk to your vet, find out what's available and find out how to use it. And equally, it's specific to the time that I'm talking, so this is July 2021. Products come on and off the market, data sheet advice changes, so if you're watching this more than a few months down the line, go and talk to your vet. Go and talk to your vet anyway. These videos, as usual, are just here to get you thinking and to sort of put out the broad brush strokes. Anyway, those are enough caveats. Let's talk about vaccines. And in the UK, at the time of this video, there are 3 vaccines licensed against enzootic abortion of ewes. There are 2 live vaccines, and there is an inactivated vaccine. The 2 live vaccines are very similar in how you use them. They can be given from 5 months of age and should be given between 4 months and 4 weeks before mating, before tupping. Now, that can be quite a sticky point, because if you buy replacement females quite short notice, there's not going to be that 4-week window between you giving the vaccine and them actually going with the tups. So just remember to plan that in with your purchases, even if it means waiting a couple of weeks before you put the tup in. The inactivated vaccine, that actually is a combination vaccine with a salmonella species, another cause of abortion, albeit much less common than enzootic abortion. Whereas the live vaccines are 1 shot, 1 injection. The killed vaccine is 2 injections, 3 weeks apart, and the first injection should be given at least 5 weeks before mating. The live and inactivated vaccines also differ slightly in when they must be boosted, so in practice often the live vaccines are used as a one-off. However, the inactivated vaccine should be boosted before a subsequent mating. A common approach with the live vaccines is to simply vaccinate all your replacements, whether homebred or bought in, every year. That should give them good life cover for enzootic abortion, and you don't have to boost them in subsequent years. If you have a combination of homebred and bought-in replacements, the vaccine will both reduce the risk from the bought-in sheep, as it should reduce shedding, and likewise it will protect your homebred replacements if you're bringing in any enzootic abortion. As I alluded to at the start of the video, there probably aren't many replacement ewes in this country that wouldn't benefit from an enzootic abortion vaccine. So how many ewes every year get one? There is data for this based on the sheep population at the time and the sales of enzootic abortion vaccine. It's been pretty stable at somewhere between 1/3 and 1/2 every year between 2012 and 2019. Now, that's great. However, that does represent significant opportunity, or if you're a pessimist, a significant exposure to this bug. Remember, if you are buying in female sheep, you are at risk of buying in enzootic abortion. This is a perfect time of year to start thinking about it because we need to get this vaccine into replacement females in good time for breeding, as per the data sheet, but also it's a seasonal product, and like a lot of these seasonal medicines, supply can hit a bit of a bottleneck, so that more prepared your vets are to get you your vaccine, the better, the less likelihood there is that there's going to be a hiccup in supply or a delay. Enzootic abortion really is pretty serious. Unfortunately, it's often the case that it takes a disaster, it takes an outbreak of enzootic abortion to get people vaccinating. A study from 2013 found that in flocks that hadn't had any history of enzootic abortion, only 15% of those flocks vaccinated. However, those that had been exposed, over 3/4 of those flocks were vaccinating. So it just illustrates the fact that sometimes, unfortunately, it just seems that people need to be exposed to the disaster in order to get them preventing it. That's a shame, and if you hadn't had any exposure to enzootic abortion, I would implore you just to think about the risk. Are you buying in females? If so, there is a risk of enzootic abortion, and you should consider discussing a vaccination with your vet. Enzootic abortion is also really important from an antibiotic point of view. You guys will all know the sheep sector in the UK is a relatively low user of antibiotics, but there are 3 areas that were identified a few years ago by RUMA, Responsible Use of Medicines in Agriculture. One of those was lameness, one of those was use of oral antibiotics in sheep at lambing, and the other was enzootic abortion control. So historically, the practice of giving an oxytetracycline antibiotic, that's your alleamycins, oxytets, etc., before lambing in order to control enzootic abortion. Now, that blanket use of antibiotics obviously isn't acceptable anymore, and the good news is the vaccines work out as less labour because you're not having to do all the ewes every year, and they're more effective. So if that is you, I would encourage you not to be embarrassed, not to be defensive. These things often happen out of habit because no one's let you know otherwise. If that is you, definitely go and talk to your vet about the enzootic abortion vaccine. They'll save you money, they'll save you time, and they will be more effective. As with any vaccine, we have to get the basics right as well. We've talked about this before in other videos, keeping it refrigerated at the right temperature in a fridge that works, handling and storing it in the way that it's designed to be handled and stored. If you're unsure about exactly what that is, you can always check the data sheet, or even easier, ask your vet.